The first time I died, I was going through a really difficult time. I was young, I was a young child. I think about 13, partway through secondary school. Going through a really difficult time, no one to speak to, and I ended up taking an overdose because I just didn't want to be with the emotional pain, mental pain that I was in anymore. So then gradually what happened was initially physical sensations in my body, which was the medicine, and then it was like I was disappearing. I was disappearing. The details of the room would disappear. I had a sense of myself, but I couldn't really see myself. Not in this very physical form like we can see, this concrete matter. I couldn't see myself in that way. But I had a sense of myself. I could feel myself from inside, but the structure of the world started breaking down around me and dissolving. And then I kind of climbed and curled up into this little space, and I couldn't hold consciousness anymore. I was disappearing then. What I name as my consciousness was disappearing. So I couldn't hold on to any connection with reality or grasp onto anything. So I just closed my eyes and I just let myself go. Where I went to, I can't really necessarily explain or pinpoint, but at that point in time, I let myself go, and I had this sense of like some part of me that was rising up out of my body, like an energy print, or like something quite light but had some dense sense of being as well that was lifting out of my body. And I knew this at the time to be me, this thing that was lifting out of my body. My body was my body that was just getting left behind, that was switching off, breaking down. But what struck me, the main thing about this experience, was that I was then in the presence of this big, pure, like white light. It was just, it was like a nothingness, but it was very filled and impregnated with some kind of presence. And the presence didn't take a particular form. So there was nothing like a kind of angel form that we see in books, or a presence of an animal or a human or a ghost or anything like that. It was a presence, a big white expansive light. And I knew deep down inside of me, this part of me that had left my physical body, I knew that this presence was here for me, to be with me and to support me in what at the time I was connecting with was this dying process. So like this presence had come to meet me in this dying process. And then what happened was I heard these words, and it was like some kind of energy transmission. So it wasn't a voice of any person or being that I heard, but it was words. And I would say in the sense of telepathic communication, like a thought form or a wave that we pick up. That's how I experienced it. And these words said to me, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. You will wake up, you will be fine. We are taking care of you. And then the next morning, because this happened at night time, the next morning I woke up. And when I woke up, I was in my body, and I didn't experience the process of going back in my body. I think I remember the point when this presence said, don't worry, you will be fine. We are here with you, you'll be fine. At that point, I remember a sense of deep peace and a deep resting place within me that previously I hadn't experienced, because previously it just been anything but that. Pain, like daily kind of torture, anguish, distress. So I experienced this deep sense of peace, and I knew everything was going to be okay. And it's not a rational mind knowing, it's just a knowing that you can't prove or justify or reason. You just know. So I woke up the next day and I woke up feeling 100% better. I just woke up feeling, wow, thank God I'm alive, and I know that I'm going to be okay. So I can face things, I can face the world, I can carry on. Some being is there supporting me, and I'm meant to be alive is the ultimate thing that I realised then. And then the second time it was quite similar in many respects. So I was hanging out with some friends. I was at college, so going on kind of 17 years old around then. I was hanging out with some friends, and there was an overdose. I'd been spiked at the time. So what happened was I was walking with friends, and then my reality completely changed. So I was in the garden, and then I was in a place that I really didn't recognise. And it was almost like, looking back in retrospect, it was almost like I'd gone into all the crevices of my mind. So it was like lots of memory-based experiences that didn't have a linear thread were all mashed up, and I was experiencing echoes or imprints of them in this really mashed up way. Didn't make sense of any of it. I knew that at the time my friends disappeared. They disappeared from view. They were still there. They were there with me all the time. And then again, I felt myself lifting out of my body. And it was like some kind of energy part of me was moving out of my body and moving upwards. And as I was moving upwards and this separation was happening from my physical body, I could look down and see my physical body and the physical world that I was leaving behind. And then I kept traveling upwards, and it was just like this energy imprint. I mean, in my world, in my experience, I might even name it as a soul, something that lived or inhabited me was leaving this physical form. And then I arrived again into this like pure white kind of light. It was like a luminescent light that was so impregnated and so full, but was completely empty at the same time. And I experienced those feelings simultaneously. But the main thing for me when I was with this presence was, again, this deep sense of peace. I had returned home. That was the main thing. I come home, and it was the best homecoming ever. It was the best place to be. I was completely happy, completely content with being there. I'd returned home and I didn't need to be anywhere else but there. And at that point in time, I felt like I had arrived. It was almost a sense of arriving back to a place that I knew so well. And I wanted to stay in this place. Everything was perfect there. Everything was perfect. But then these words came to me, this voice, these words said, "It's not your time yet." And I was quite distraught, distressed when I heard these words. It's not your time yet. You have to go back in your body. It's not your time yet. And then as soon as I heard this, it's not your time yet, very quickly, it's not your time yet, there was this descending back down, and it was like going through some kind of like portal, tunnel of some kind, descending quickly back down and then back into my body. And on that journey, on the way down, it's not your time yet. you have stuff that you have to do. So that's what was being communicated to me. It's not your time, you have stuff that you need to do. And on the way back down, when I got back in my body, I was really upset. And I was crying my eyes out. I was really, really upset. And my friends were quite distressed. They said that they were about to call an ambulance because they thought I was dead. And they were just about to call an ambulance. And then they were very pleased, obviously, to see me when I came back round. But they were like, why are you so upset? And I explained in my quite kind of jaggedy way, because I was still kind of in bits and pieces trying to pull threads together. But one thing that I knew for sure was that I was upset because I left the place where I knew I belonged and wanted to be. But yeah, I felt like, okay, well, I've had this experience. It echoed the memory of knowing that I died before. And with that, I just knew that there was a sense of a right timing. And both times it wasn't my time to die. And I had to be here to do whatever I'm here to do, which is unfolding in my life. But yeah, it was very clear. It was very clear, that sense of coming back into my body. And that there is another presence, another being, life force that exists, that is with me, that is operating through me, but that is also other than me, that I went to or experienced both times. But I remind myself of that, because there's that relationship with death that really enhances and enhances my connection to life and my meaning with life, really. Yeah, my point of being here. My relationship with life and death and rebirth.